Good evening. Our top story tonight, Deshaun Watson is officially done for the season. The Cleveland Browns will be led by Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie the rookie drafted in the 5th round out of UCLA. DTR season is upon us. Deshaun Watson is done. Is he going to be back with the Browns in 2024? Is he still going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? We'll dive into that. We've got injury updates across the NFL. We've got some news on some potential other starting quarterbacks, looking at you, New England Patriots, and more on Player Profiler today. We are back once again, and we are here to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson suffered 2 major injuries. One is a high ankle sprain, which is bad enough. Deshaun Watson probably would have missed, let's say, 3 with a high ankle sprain. He's a quarterback. Quarterbacks come back quicker from high ankle sprains. They'll play through it type of thing. You know how it is. Quarterbacks somehow injuries don't affect quarterbacks as much, probably because they're not running as much as a running back, a wide receiver is. But anyways, that wasn't bad enough. Deshaun Watson also fractured his right shoulder, played 2.5 quarters of football with a high ankle sprain and a fractured shoulder. Deshaun Watson playing through the pain, goes 14 of 14 in the second half. And then when all is said and done, when they go and the imaging is done, Deshaun Watson suffers a new injury. Remember, Deshaun Watson had a rotator cuff sprain, which was a tear in the rotator cuff. Now he has a fractured shoulder. So this is a new injury. It probably unrelated to his previous injury, but still another right shoulder injury. And Deshaun Watson wanted to play through this. Deshaun Watson wanted to get shot up with Toradol and just continue to play through it, but was told by his doctors, if you do that, if you take another hit, your shoulder may just completely fall apart. It may collapse completely. So Deshaun Watson is done for the season. 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 222 yards per game. We remove the Colts game from his average yards per game. Obviously, only attempted 5 passes. Did throw an interception in that game before he was hurt. But Deshaun Watson is done. And is he done with the Cleveland Browns? Because it has not been pretty. Deshaun Watson has been largely ineffective. We saw him come back last year, and he was not good. We saw him play this year, and outside of the Titans game and maybe the second half of the Ravens game, he has not been good either. Deshaun Watson has been terrible. And I'm all right with that, personally speaking. But Deshaun Watson, unfortunately, has to be back with the Cleveland Browns next year. He has a $63 million cap hit over the next 3 years. Because remember, the Cleveland Browns guaranteed his contract for the life of it. Never should have done it. Terrible decision. Cleveland Browns get what they deserve for this terrible trade, this suspect trade, both morally and football-wise. This was just always a tough decision, a bad decision, and karma sometimes just even things out. So the Cleveland Browns cannot get rid of Deshaun Watson. It is going to cost them far too much money to move on from Deshaun Watson. No team's going to trade for Deshaun Watson, and rightfully so. And so whether he's the starter next year or not, he's going to be with the Cleveland Browns. They're going to be forced to give him an opportunity to start. And if it doesn't work out, maybe they turn back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. If all goes well for the rest of the season, DTR is going to be starting once again. Remember, they traded away Josh Dobbs after the preseason, right before the season started, because they were confident, they were comfortable with DTR as the primary backup to Deshaun Watson. He has to enter the game against the Ravens, makes his first start. Kevin Stefanski kind of sets him up to fail, hoping to go long, hoping to go deep. Didn't really work out. He just kind of got beat up by the Baltimore Ravens, and they turned to PJ Walker. But now DTR says he has had a chance to get his feet wet in the NFL. He has gone back, watched some of the mistakes that he made, and he is confident that he is ready to start in the NFL. And so I think it's going to be DTR for the rest of the season. Remember how much we love Dorian Thompson-Robinson after the preseason. Everyone fell in love with the rookie. He dominated in the preseason. He was absolutely lights out. And then he had a rough first start, but the talent is still there for DTR. DTR very well could become the next Josh Dobbs or someone like that. Very well could end up becoming a starter just through circumstance. We'll see how DTR plays the rest of the season. PJ Walker is going to be the QB2. Not sure who QB3 is going to be yet. They have to sign someone, but that quarterback 3 is just going to be an emergency quarterback. It's DTR, it's PJ Walker, and then QB3 is just a pure backup. Now, obviously, this is bad news for Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson as his quarterback. As bad as Deshaun Watson has been, Amari Cooper has been averaging 17.6 PPR points per game and 24.2% target share. Now, when Deshaun Watson's out of the game, Amari Cooper actually gets more targets, 25.4% target share without Deshaun Watson, but he drops from over 17 PPR points to 9.1 PPR points per contest. Now, a large part of that is just how bad DTR was in his first start, bringing the average down. But PJ Walker hasn't been particularly effective either. So Amari Cooper, we know he's going to be fed. If it's DTR, if it's Deshaun Watson, if it's PJ Walker, he's going to be absolutely fed. Hopefully, we see some more fantasy success, but at least we know the underlying metrics that we're looking for. Target share, that is still going to be there for Amari Cooper. And the Browns are going to be relying on their defense. First in yards allowed, first in passing yards allowed, fourth in points allowed, tied for fourth in sacks, tied for fifth in interceptions. The Browns have been dominating in 2023 on defense, which is a large part of why they are currently in playoff competition. The AFC North was looking like it could be the first team ever to send 4 teams to the playoffs. Now doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Browns probably going to miss the playoffs. They are probably going to miss the playoffs even with Deshaun Watson. Steelers probably fall off at some point as well. But before we get to the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals playing tomorrow night, we've got a word from the Podfather.
This episode is brought to you by Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy, the coolest fantasy platform not enough people know about, but they will once I'm done, baby, because they're always innovating. They just rolled out seasonal leagues. We set them up for patrons, for our listeners, and they funded over $1,000 in payouts. That's what Rival's all about. They're always innovating. They already had the fantasy book where you can take overs and unders, stack them up, multiply your payout, but then they added challenges so you can set your own lines and put them out there for the community, and then you can browse the community's lines and say, hey, this guy's crazy, I'm going to take the other side. It's cool. And they have fantasy bingo. Rival Fantasy is reminding me how much fun I can have with fantasy football, and use that promo code PLAYER. The promo code is PLAYER. They give you a $100 instant deposit match plus $25 plus a free play. That promo code is PLAYER for up to $125 in deposit bonus and a free play. You can't beat it. Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
So Deshaun Watson done for the season. The AFC North wide open. We'll get some more answers on the AFC North tomorrow night when the Cincinnati Bengals take on the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals will be without T. Higgins. He is out with a hamstring injury. It's going to be Trenton Irwin stepping into that role for T. Higgins because Andre Yoshivas is also out with a knee injury. No Yoshi this week, no T. Higgins. So it's Trenton Irwin as that wide receiver 3. Tyler Boyd is the wide receiver 2. Jamar Chase still the wide receiver 1. dealing with a back injury. Obviously, he's going to play through it, but Jamar Chase still dealing with back injury. Expect about 90% of Jamar Chase, and I'll take 90% of Jamar Chase any day of the week. And of course, probably not going to be covered by Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey is officially doubtful with a calf injury. So even at a 90% rate, Jamar Chase against Brandon Stevens for the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I will take that all day. Jamar Chase going to go off even with the back injury. Bengals also going to be without Sam Hubbard. He's got an ankle injury. Going to miss this contest. Would have been rushing against Ronnie Stanley, except Ronnie Stanley is also going to miss this contest. Left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens is out with a knee injury. So both the Ravens and the Bengals are pretty banged up at this point. This is going to be a fun one to watch. Lamar Jackson playing at an MVP level. Hasn't translated to fantasy points because he's able to just hand it off for touchdowns so many times, but I promise you, it's coming. The Cincinnati Bengals are not a team that he can just blow out by 30 points. It's not like the Detroit Lions. It's not like the Seattle Seahawks. This is a divisional matchup. They play each other twice a year. They already played each other. This is going to be a close one. This is going to be a fun one to watch. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I cannot wait. Other news around the NFL, other injury reports. We've got the Tennessee Titans. Treylon Burks is in concussion protocol, does not practice. Not looking good for him to play on Sunday. Texans looked like it was going to be bad news for Nico Collins. He was reported as did not practice with a calf injury. And then that gets flipped at the last second. I guess Nico Collins ended up returning to the field. Nico Collins dealing with the calf injury tells reporters that he is playing on Sunday. We'll believe it when you practice for the rest of the week. Got to get limited or a full session, hopefully on Friday. Nico Collins dealing with the calf injury. Either way, expect a big game from Tank Dell, Arizona Cardinals versus the Houston Texans. That is a sneaky shootout. I'm all in on Tank Dell, all in on CJ Stroud, all in on Kyler Murray, all in on Trey McBride, all in on Michael Wilson as well. And speaking of Michaels who play for the Arizona Cardinals, Michael Carter now plays for the Arizona Cardinals. Michael Carter claimed off of waivers. The Cardinals get a new running back, and he steps in probably looking for some real playing time, at least behind James Conner. Amari DiMercado, he's dealing with a toe injury. We don't know how severe that is, whether there's a chance he ends up on injured reserve. Either way, he's at least the running back 2 or 3. Amari DiMercado, Michael Carter will compete, but I absolutely expect Michael Carter to leapfrog Keontae Ingram, to leapfrog Tony Jones, who was signed to the active roster. And the Cardinals have been looking for another running back all season. That's why they added Tony Jones. They've been churning that position. Darrell Williams has been on the team as well. So Cardinals been looking for a running back. Now they get Michael Carter. He is going to be starting for the team. Other updates around the NFL, other injury news that we are looking at. The Washington Commanders did not have Antonio Gibson at practice today. He did not practice with a toe injury. We will keep our eyes on that. Could be a big day from not Antonio Gibson. Sorry. Could it be a big day from Brian Robinson if we do not end up seeing Antonio Gibson? Other news around the NFL that's a little bit better. Some good news on the injury front, though. It's not all bad. For once, it's not all bad. This rarely happens. Usually, it's just a list of bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. But we've got some good news bears this week. Justin Fields is back. Practices in full. Wanted to play last week. Was ready to play last week. Doctors say, let's hold out for at least one more week. You know, it's a short week. You just started practicing. Let's hold off. So Justin Fields is back practicing in full, going to start this weekend against the Detroit Lions. Justin Fields is back, baby. It remains to be seen who his running back is going to be. Khalil Herbert coming off injured reserve with the ankle injury, listed as limited with an ankle and shin injury. So I don't know if this is a new injury that he picked up. I don't know what's going on with Khalil Herbert, whether this is just routine maintenance, but officially a little bit worried that Khalil Herbert doesn't return this week after I thought he would return last week. It looked like he was good to go. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that. Dante Foreman also limited with an ankle injury, but it's Dante Foreman. He's limited all the time. I do expect Dante Foreman to play. It's more just Khalil Herbert. Do we see him or not? Wait and see. We will see Devon Achane. Devon Achane is back. He is practicing. He looks fast. Now, Mike McDaniel would not officially confirm that he is playing, but it sounds pretty good. The way he talked about Devon Achane returning versus Robert Hunt returning, the offensive lineman, it was night and day. You can tell the difference. Mike McDaniel, not great at keeping secrets. The guy reveals quite a bit with the things that he's not saying, with his demeanor, with his personality. Mike McDaniel telling us, without telling us, that we are going to see Devon Achane back in action. And if Devon Achane is starting, then you're starting him. Even if he's not starting, if he's playing, even at a 40% rate, you are starting Devon Achane. And his starting quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, now has cornrows. Tua looking pretty fly. He was told he looks like Drake. I don't really see it, but Tua Tagovailoa with the cornrows, I love it. I'm a big fan of what Tua's doing this year with the sleeve and now the cornrows. Love it. Absolutely love it. Also love that Pat Freiermuth looks like he's going to return. Gets a limited practice in today. Obviously, it's his first practice back coming off the hamstring strain. We've seen so many players go down with a hamstring injury, return at full, and then the next day they are back to out with the hamstring. So they're being slow with Pat Freiermuth. Do expect him to return on Sunday. Not sure about Deontay Johnson, though. He now popped up on the injury report with a thumb injury. Not sure if we're going to see Deontay Johnson, whether or not he is going to be in the lineup. We'll have better report on Friday. As of now, all we know is he missed the one practice. Don't know how severe it is. We will get you updates as soon as we can. Updates on the Los Angeles Rams, though, are very positive. Matthew Stafford is back, also dealing with a thumb injury, much less severe than Justin Fields, it seems, because Matthew Stafford is back practicing in full. Matthew Stafford going to be starting against the Seahawks, and I am starting Matthew Stafford if I have to, based on buys and all of that. I am in on Matthew Stafford this week against the Seattle Seahawks. He's got Cooper Kupp. He's going to have Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua does not practice today with a knee injury. He's fine. It's precautionary. Puka is going to be playing on Sunday. Matthew Stafford gets Puka. Matthew Stafford gets Cooper Kupp back. Last time he was okay against the Seattle Seahawks, but would have been a lot better if he had Cooper Kupp. Other news around the NFL, news about 2024 specifically. We told you yesterday, I believe it was, at some point recently, we told you that Arthur Smith is expected to be back with the Atlanta Falcons. He is expected to be the head coach in 2024. The only thing that can stop that is if the team completely unravels, the players start to tune him out. If he loses the locker room, obviously that can happen. And if it does, people are going to get fired. But it sounds like, along with Arthur Smith being back with the Atlanta Falcons, Brian Daboll and Joe Shane will be back for the Buffalo Bills. They will be the head coach and GM in 2024. John Mara, the owner of the New York Giants, he believes that the culture and the success that they had in 2022, that is here to stay. The 7-2 start for the New York Giants is what they are basing their evaluation on, not the 4-13-1 since from the New York Giants. Giants fell apart last season, struggled this year even before Daniel Jones got hurt, looked honestly better when Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback, but it sounds as though Brian Daboll's going to be back. Joe Shane going to be back. Don't know if that's the best idea. I mean, unless they're bad enough to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, and they have a lot of success with that quarterback next year, then I don't think Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are going to be with us as the front runners, the operators of the New York Giants in 2025. But if they get one of those guys, then sure. Because otherwise, it's going to be Daniel Jones at the starting quarterback position. The Giants do believe Daniel Jones will be back. Obviously, they can't get rid of him. They just signed into this big contract, and the cap hit would just be too much. It wouldn't make sense to move on from him. But that's not to say he has to be the starter if they do land a Caleb Williams, if they do land a Drake May. Not going to be able to trade him either, but Daniel Jones becomes the best backup in the NFL at that point. And if that happens, maybe Brian Daboll saves his job. But otherwise, 2024, if he's trotting Daniel Jones back out as his starting quarterback, then Brian Daboll's probably not going to be back. Current day New York Giants, though, we have some injury updates. Tommy DeVito, he's good to go. He's starting once again. Going to be backed up by Matt Barkley. QB3 is going to be Jacob Eason. Probably going to be without Jalen Hyatt, the speedster. He is in concussion protocol, doesn't practice today. Neither does Kayvon Thibodeau. Kayvon Thibodeau has been on a tear, single-handedly won them a game this year, won them a game last year. Kayvon Thibodeau has been dominant. And Adoree Jackson also in concussion protocol, as if it couldn't get any worse for the New York Giants. Suddenly, it somehow does. But it gets better for the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson is ramping up. Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to play on Sunday. He is day to day in his ramping up. And obviously, we hear that day to day tag, don't love it, but day to day in his ramping up. So that tells me not that he's day to day, that every day he's going to go a little bit more, that they are increasing his reps every single day. So I believe Justin Jefferson will play on Sunday. Even if he doesn't, you got to start Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs puts up over 20 fantasy points without KJ Osborne, without Justin Jefferson, with a less than 100% TJ Hawkinson battling a rib injury. Josh Dobbs puts up over 20 fantasy points. You got to start Josh Dobbs. You got to start Justin Jefferson, and you got to start Ty Chandler. We talked about this yesterday, but Alexander Mattison officially did not practice today in concussion protocol. There's a chance he's limited tomorrow and a chance he's full on Friday. But even if that happens, even if Alexander Mattison clears concussion protocol, we just saw with KJ Osborne, the Vikings willing to sit a player an extra week just to give them a little bit of extra time to heal up. So no Alexander Mattison. Ty Chandler against the Denver Broncos. That's going to be juicy after they just gave up over 7.5 yards of carry to Latavius Murray. Absolutely ridiculous. Other Vikings news, Kirk Cousins may be back in 2024. Now, I would wager that probably depends on how Josh Dobbs does. And honestly, Josh Dobbs and Kirk Cousins may be back in 2024. Maybe they keep Josh Dobbs as the backup or the bridge quarterback. They start the season. And then Kirk Cousins, as he ramps up, recovers from the Achilles tear, maybe he starts when he's healthy. I don't know how they're going to run it, but the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, are both interested. They're very receptive, is the quote. Very receptive to a return from Kirk Cousins. We'll see if Kirk ends up being back with the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see if Josh Dobbs ends up being the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. In the meantime, Josh Dobbs will continue to start. Jaron Hall, didn't actually see if he was off the injury report, if he's out of concussion protocol or making his way back from concussion protocol. If he can't go, Nick Mullins, the former backup quarterback, he has been designated to return from injury reserve. So Nick Mullins could be QB2, could be QB3, remains to be determined. The Detroit Lions had some unfortunate news. Hal Vaitai started the season at right guard, dominated for 2 games, and now has been injured once again. Then he came back and then injured once again. Hal Vaitai aggravated the back injury that he had surgery on last year. Hal Vaitai done for the season. Won't be shocked if this is unfortunately a career ender for Hal Vaitai. He's had a lot of struggles with the back injury. And I just hope he gets healthy. I just hope that Hal Vaitai is able to get healthy and support his Detroit Lions on their way to the Super Bowl. Fortunately for the Lions, Graham Glasgow had already won the starting right guard job. Vaitai won it in training camp. Vaitai goes down. Glasgow plays great. Vaitai returns. Glasgow still plays better at both center and left guard. Glasgow moving all along the offensive line. Now, Glasgow going to be starting at right guard for the rest of the season. Lions also signed Bruce Irvin, looking to juice up that pass rush a bit. And I know Bruce Irvin, 36 years old, but anything is better than what they've been getting opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Charles Harris has struggled. Julian Okwara, Romeo Okwara, both have struggled. Josh Paschal hasn't popped coming off an injury, so they've been really relying on their linebackers and their safeties and their corners to get sacks on blitzes alongside Aiden Hutchinson. Now the Lions get Bruce Irvin, so it's going to at least add a little bit of juice, and the Lions could absolutely use that. Speaking of, actually, there's no transition here, but the Carolina Panthers, actually, I could have transitioned. Speaking of the Lions and former Lions players, DJ Chark practices in full. He's got an elbow injury, practicing in full. Looks like he is going to be playing, and it looks like he will be getting his calls on offense from Frank Reich. Frank Reich started the season as the offensive coordinator, or at least a play caller. Then he gave the reins over to the offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown. Now he's taking the reins back. Frank Reich going to be calling the plays once again. Says he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he didn't do everything he could over the final 8 games of the season to make sure they got to where they wanted to be. Sounds like Frank Reich might know he's on the hot seat after just 1 season with Bryce Young. We'll see how the rest of the season shakes out, but I would not be shocked if this is a one and done deal at all based on what we've seen from David Tepper so far as an owner. Looks like no Hayden Hurst for Bryce Young. He's in concussion protocol. Doesn't practice today. Probably out on Sunday. Start the Dallas Cowboys defense. That's all I've got to say about that. Final news and notes around the NFL. The New England Patriots have benched Mac Jones in all but name. Mac Jones, everyone knows he's not going to be the starter for the New England Patriots. It's unofficial. Bill Belichick's not going to tell us anything until he has to. But we all know that Mac Jones is going to be benched. Team knows it. Mac Jones apparently lost the locker room. It is now an 80-20 split. Only about 20% of the locker room still likes Mac Jones. Offense and defense, both trending towards the we don't like Mac Jones. They think that his mistakes and poor play, just even when the good he does, can't make up for the mistakes, or his mistakes are so bad that the good plays of his teammates, it doesn't even matter. That's how bad it's been for Mac Jones, at least in the locker room. According to Rob Gronkowski, he is not respected. He has lost the respect of both the locker room and the fans in New England. Would be best if he asked for his release, starts a new career with the Cleveland Browns. Doubt that. Can't see the New England Patriots just releasing Mac Jones, especially if Bill Belichick isn't back next year. Maybe a new regime tries to fix Mac Jones. Maybe they're bad enough they get Caleb Williams or Drake May. Either way, Mac Jones doesn't even look like he will be the backup going forward. It sounds like Bailey Zappi is going to be the starting quarterback for now. He's going to be QB1, but he's going to be competing with Will Grier for starter reps. Will Grier dominated in the preseason for the Dallas Cowboys, former draft pick of the Carolina Panthers. Will Grier. Looks like Will Grier is going to be getting a shot at some point for the Patriots. And Mac Jones is done in New England, coming from Rob Gronkowski. But Rob Gronkowski also thinks that Stephon Diggs is being a little bit of a baby, that he has nothing to cry about, that he's getting all the targets, that he should be having fun. But the way Stephon Diggs has carried himself, Rob Gronkowski thinks that Stephon Diggs is going to be out of there in 2024. What do you think? Because I think Rob Gronkowski as a talking head just makes for great content.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.